They're talking about the NFL from a different perspective. Game recaps, stats, big plays, predictions, and much more. You're listening to the B&E podcast with Ed Donaldson and Brandon Simpson.
First place in the AFC South is on the line with the Colts and Jaguars from Everbank Stadium. Bears and Packers, they'll battle it out. Winner will take the lead in the NFC North. Ravens Steelers for a chance to take a slim lead in the AFC North. And the Chiefs, they're looking to keep their playoff hopes alive against Houston. Those games and many more wrap up the Week 14 NFL slate. We've got 5 more weeks in the NFL regular season, ladies and gentlemen. Breezed by really fast. But Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Like you said, time be flying by. Football comes back and seeing time goes by really fast. NBA starts and just a lot of stuff on TV sports wise, and time does seem to be flying. Like you said, we got a little bit over a month left of regular season football, and then we'll be getting to the playoffs, man. Can't wait for it to start. All right, everybody, let's get this opening drive started, shall we? Ben Roethlisberger and James Harrison are calling on the Steelers to move on from Mike Tomlin. The Chiefs versus Cowboys Thanksgiving game set a new record for viewership. The Browns have opened the 21-day practice window for Deshaun Watson. Tight end Mark Andrews and the Ravens have agreed to a 3-year extension. Cornerback Darius Slay is stepping away from football to decide on his future after being claimed by the Bills on waivers. Each NFL stadium is required to install a new playing surface by 2028 based on lab and field testing. Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter is week to week after undergoing a procedure on his shoulder. Carter will miss Monday's game against the Chargers. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray will not return this season. ESPN reports Brian Branch suffered a torn Achilles against Dallas on Thursday Night Football. T. Higgins is expected to play Sunday against Buffalo. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels will suit up again in Minnesota, everybody. UAB football has hired Alex Mortensen to be his next head coach. And Mortensen is the son of late ESPN NFL insider Chris Mortensen. Just a couple of things real quick before we move on. Ben Roethlisberger and James Harrison seem to be like a lot of the Steelers fan base wanting to move on from Mike Tomlin. Uh, Good luck if they let that happen. I mean, he's done everything he can with what he's been given. I mean, the quarterbacks he's had lately, the Kenny Pickett's, the Mason Rudolphs, even the Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's doing the best as what he can. So if y'all want to get rid of him, I saw an article today actually about that and saying the Giants could be a team that could use Mike Tomlin as a head coach. That'd be very interesting if that does happen. And Kyler Murray, man, it seems like his body is just breaking down. It's like every other year he's either out for a season or missing a bunch of games. Was it less than 2-3 years ago he had a torn ACL, and now he will be missed the remainder of the season. So good luck to him. And also that Deshaun Watson news kind of like raised my eyebrow. I wonder if I'm sure he wants to play, but the fans definitely don't. Because the last thing I remember is him getting booed off the field, him crying, and fans cheering as he, I think, tore his Achilles and was carted off the field. It's not a good look. I'd be pissed to want to play for them damn fans after something like that happened to me. You got any thoughts on that, though?
Yeah, their quarterback room is going to be interesting to watch for the remainder of the season. Obviously, Stefanski said that they're going to stick with Sanders and give him a fair shot to basically prove his point, like Dylan Gabriel did the first however many weeks. But of course, Deshaun has a very hefty contract, as we all know, so that'll be interesting to watch. Darius Slay, that situation has also caught my eye as well. He's the second corner, the second player this season to do something like that. Go to another team and then decide he's going to take a step away from football to mold his future. Jair Alexander did that after he left Baltimore and I believe went to Philly. Wasn't there long at all before he did the same thing. So that's kind of again eye-opening to me. Definitely, what's going on in these. I know they go through so much that we don't see. If you watch the documentaries, you see how much in their private lives we don't think about it because we just talk about the X's and O's and what goes on in the football field and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to watch. I do know that he did say after he got released, Darius Slay from the Eagles last offseason, that he wanted to retire with the Lions. So maybe he wants to get back with them at some point and perhaps play before he retires there. But I think his heart is in Detroit. I think that may be a story inside this story as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. And real quick, that UAB hiring with Alex Mortensen that caught my attention as well because you know we all grew up watching Chris Mortensen on ESPN, and they was just talking about his son a couple weeks ago, how well he was doing it. I can't remember what school he was at, this past season, but he did really good, and now he's got another job. So I know his father is smiling down on him right now. Okay, 44-30 was the final score on Thursday Night Football when the Lions handled the Cowboys at Ford Field. Looks can be deceiving, y'all. A wise person once said it, and it's something we've all heard at some point. And that's what I realized watching the bits and pieces of this game, watching the playback, watching this Dallas defense, y'all. Let's go to the Lions stats. David Montgomery, 10 yards a pop on the ground. JMO, 7 for 96. St. Brown looked just fine, after coming off a Thanksgiving game where he missed pretty much the entire game. Tesla continued to make impact plays. Golf, pinpoint accuracy like in 2024. 13 missed tackles Dallas had on defense. They had 19 in the previous 3 games combined. And then Jameer Gibbs, over 100 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, Dallas looked decent against the Raiders and the Eagles a couple weeks ago. Fair against the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. And then just awful against Detroit last night, Thursday Night Football. Deron Bland, he got, as you would say, it beat like a drum. Okay, there was an NFL meme. If y'all follow NFL memes on Facebook, they had the play. I can't remember who juked him out, and he fell right on the sideline. And they was like, he got beat so bad he was doing push-ups after the play. So they showed the play.
Jameer Gibbs did him like that.
I think so. So they showed the play, let it play out. Then they went back to another angle to him actually laying on the ground after he got, basically he just fell on the ground, and that was the meme. So yeah, he had a rough night. To make matters worse, Dak Prescott sacked 5 times. He threw 2 interceptions, and the offense lost a fumble as well. Dallas, though, they did keep it close. Aubrey hit his 5th field goal tonight, late in the 4th quarter. The Lions do it all. Running back Jameer Gibbs, he responded though with his third score of the evening as well to put the game away basically for Detroit. One positive though, I just mentioned it slightly, was Brandon Aubrey. He became the first kicker in league history to make 3 field goals from 55 yards or more in a single game. I feel like he's been the best kicker in the NFC since Younghoe Koo had a little bit of a drop off last year. So yeah, that was the main positive in my opinion from Dallas, besides CeeDee Lamb getting over 100 as well. Ed, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, you could arguably say Brandon Aubrey was the best player out there for the Cowboys last night. At one point in the game, it did look like the Cowboys had a chance of coming back because they did get the score to 27-30 after a touchdown from Ryan Flournoy, then a 2-point conversion for the Jake Ferguson. But the Lions did pull away from the game. I think the last touchdown they got was about 2 minutes left. That probably closed the door on them. Just quick note on the Lions. It looks like they have one of those injuries that affected them late last year. One of their major starters on the defensive side of the ball went out. Brian Branch, man, one of the best safeties in the game, tearing his Achilles, man. They've been having some issues with the secondary. I think Terry and Arnold is dealing with some injuries as well now too. So it's tough to see Brian Branch going out for the rest of the year and probably most of next year too. Now that's really tough. So wondering how that's going to affect the defense going forward. Back to this game though, both of these teams needed this win to keep their playoff hopes alive. So it was good for the Lions that they were able to get this win. Like you said, man, Jameer Gibbs, even though he pretty much got contained rushing the ball, I think he only had about 43 yards rushing. He did do his thing in the air, as you mentioned, with the just overall scrimmage yards. They can't do nothing with him when he got the ball in space. They were trying to play a little zone, and Cowboys did, but they were just giving them too much of a buffer to catch the ball and run after the catch. Like you mentioned, he did Deron Bland bad on that one play, and they were just able to do their thing out there. And then the loss of CD Lamb with that concussion, he's in concussion protocol now. It seems like when they get in concussion protocol lately, they're missing the next game. So I'm wondering if CD's going to be able to play or not next game, and how that's going to affect him. Also, another thing a lot of people were talking about is George Pickens and his level of play. Like, he didn't look too interested out there. I know Richard Sherman made some comments post game analysis wise about him, and I think it got back to George Pickens, because I don't know if this post got deleted or not, or if it was a true post. I think it's true, but George Pickens ain't had no kind things to say about that, and Richard Sherman kind of said something on Twitter about it too. So that's a little funny to watch. But yeah, man, when I saw the final score, I just thought of the Stephen A. laugh in the back of my head. So yeah, we'll see how it goes towards the end of the year. But this was definitely a good win for the Lions and a bad loss for the Cowboys. That defense, like you said, the last 3 games was playing better, but then they, going against a team that got a bunch of guys on the offensive side of the ball, and they got hit with a buzzsaw there. So good luck to them the rest of the way. That defense, I mean.
Okay, a storied rivalry will hit a new wrinkle Sunday afternoon when the Packers host the Bears at historic Lambeau Field. Fox will have this one in a late window, but let's find out if Ed still is against the Chicago Bears.
You know damn well I am. Think this is probably the most popular, longest rivalry in the NFL. The Bears taking on the Packers. Good news for the Packers. They are getting one of their starting linebackers, Quay Walker, back. He missed the last couple games with a neck injury. So that's really good for the defense that's been playing extremely well as of late. Um, and we'll see how they look against Caleb Williams and this new and improved offense. I mean, Caleb Williams, even though he's not lighting the league up, he's not making as much mistakes as he did his rookie year. DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai lately, the second guy, the rookie I've been talking about, has really been coming on. So I want to see how the Bears run game looks against this Packers defense, and what Jordan Love we're going to get. We're going to get the one we got last week, 4 touchdowns through the air, played pretty good. We can get the one we got against the Panthers. Well, I think he got my bonehead player of the week because he just looked like he threw the ball up and said jackpot, and whoever gets it gets it. So I wonder which type of Jordan Love we'll get. I'm kind of leaning more so the one we got last week, rivalry game. These games are important. I'm sure the Packers want to beat this one just to have bragging rights over the Bears, but it's also important for playoff seeding, things like that. Make sure that they stay at the top of the NFC North, whoever wins this game. But all in all, though, I'm leaning towards the Packers in this one. I feel like Josh Jacobs, even though he's been dealing with a knee injury as of late, I just feel like this is going to be a type of game where he can impose his will a little bit. They're getting Christian, they've been having Christian Watson back these last few weeks. I feel like him and Jordan Love will have a connection or two in this game. And I don't think the Bears are frauds or anything, but I feel like maybe the Bears defense will get exposed a little bit. Maybe some weaknesses will start to pair up. And most importantly, in the run game is my prediction. So give me the Packers in this one, but I think the Bears will keep it close. But I'm leaning towards the Packers in this game. Brandon, what about you?
In his first press conference as Chicago's head coach, Ben Johnson, he gave credit to Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell, two of the other coaches in the NFC North. And then he said, quote, "To be frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year."
Mm.
So the last Bears coach to mention something about beating the Packers in his press conference didn't work out so good with his job status. Unfortunately, that was Lovie Smith. We both agree that he should have been there a lot longer than what he was. Um, but nevertheless, the Bears hadn't been good without Lovie Smith until this year, pretty much when Ben Johnson came on. So I'm sure the leaders of the Green Bay locker room, they're going to have this quote, this, at some point they talked about it this week. I'm sure they played it in a meeting or something. Um, it may be a situation where they play it on the Jumbotron there at Lambeau Field. I know back when Tennessee played Baltimore years ago in the playoffs, Brian Billick said something after we beat them in the regular season. We had to go back there in the playoffs. They played Brian Billick's quote on the Jumbotron before the game. And that's when Shannon Sharp was warming up on the sideline. He was like, yeah, we said it. Anything I said, we said it, or whatever the line was. So don't be surprised if that comes back up in the minds of those Green Bay players. But biggest question for me in this game is how will the Chicago passing offense look, and how will the Bears offensive line fare against the Green Bay pass rush? You mentioned a little bit. Caleb hasn't really put up those wow type of stats except for against the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Dallas defenses. Three of the lower tier defenses in the league, in my opinion. Green Bay is different though. They can force turnovers. They force 6 interceptions, 8 forced fumbles on the season. They can sack the quarterback. They have 32 quarterback takedowns, which is top 5 if I'm not mistaken. And they don't give up big plays on defense. The same page again. This Green Bay pass rush is ferocious with Micah Parsons, 12.5 sacks. Gary, 7.5 sacks. And they have multiple players, other players that are on the stat sheet in that column there. So I'd imagine the Green Bay defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, and his guys, they're not going to allow Swift and Monangai to run all over them like they did against the Eagles last week in Philadelphia. They could probably afford a few more 8-man boxes because, again, this Bears passing attack hasn't been all that. So not only has the Green Bay Packers been great at home against Chicago over the years, but I also believe they're the better team, even though the record says otherwise. They got one more win, Chicago does, than Green Bay. But ball security will be key as well in this game, in my opinion. So I feel like someone in this Packers receiving room is going to put on a show, and they're going to be the talk of the town after this game. So I'm going to go with Green Bay over Chicago, in agreements with you.
All right, everybody. We got the Eagles taking on the Chargers in Monday Night Football. Brandon, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, man. Philly, they've won in spurts this season. They started the year on a 4-game win streak. They dropped the next 2. Then they won the next 4, and they dropped the past 2. So signs point to Philly winning this game. We got to see if they fix the problems in the run defense. I just mentioned it in the last preview about the Bears, how bad they ran over Philly's defense a week ago, Black Friday. So if Philly's defense can contain this Los Angeles run game, which hasn't been what we thought it was going to be heading into this season, but if they can contain it, Herbert's not 100%. He's already thrown 10 interceptions, and they could significantly help their offense by getting off the field on 3rd down and forcing turnovers. So offensively on Philly, on their side, I know everybody wants to run the ball there a little bit more. It's kind of like a week-to-week basis with what is the issue there in Philly with the offensive side of the ball. But either way, that'll be easier said than done because Los Angeles, they haven't given up a 100-yard rusher since week 6 with Devon Achane, and only twice all season. The week before, in week 5, LA gave up a 100-yard rusher against Ed's Commanders when Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt ran for $111 against them. I do want to see Ladd McConkey, though, against Kenyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. He's been held in check the last couple weeks, so he's kind of due for a big game, in my opinion. Chargers, they've been throwing the ball a lot more this year. So will the Eagles commit to trying to stop the run and play man-to-man? That could benefit Ladd McConkey at the end of the day. My heart says go with the Chargers because I want them to win to keep the Chiefs back in the divisional standings, but my mind says Vic Fangio and this Eagles defense are going to fix some of the issues from last week in that run game and try to shut down this Los Angeles offense and keep Justin Herbert in contained. And even if Justin Herbert does not play, because I think it's signs are pointing that he's going to play. Even if he is not, Trey Lance is not a bad quarterback to have in there as a backup. He can also make plays with his legs as well. He played decent in the preseason, so that'll be something to watch as well heading up to this game. Who's going to suit up at quarterback for Los Angeles will make a difference as well in this game. Um, I'm still going to lean towards the Chargers in this one. But Ed, how do you feel?
Yeah, really important game for both of these teams. 8-4. Eagles, like you said, kind of on a tail slide right now. Injuries are kind of swaying me one way too. Two important pieces for both sides of the line of the Eagles will be out, as we talked about in the opening drive. Jalen Carter with the shoulder surgery being out week to week, so he's going to miss this game. Lane Johnson, probably one of their best offensive linemen for the Eagles, he's going to be out too. So I wonder how that offensive line is going to hold up with him not being out there for a second week in a row. Because, like you said, the running game for the Eagles hasn't been the greatest as of late. I'm sure would love to have Lane Johnson out there to help in the run game, also protecting Jalen Hurts. So I want to see how both of those offensive and the defensive lines look. I think Jalen Carter's he's arguably their best defensive player, but he's definitely their best defensive tackle. And we saw, how they looked last week against the Bears, even with him playing. How is he going to look with him not being out there? We'll see. And then the Chargers are getting their rookie running back, Omarion Hampton, back. Um, he looked like a really, really good back before he got injured. I think Vidal, his replacement, Kamani Vidal, is it okay in his absence? But now they'll have both of those guys back. So I'm wondering if the Chargers run game, how that's going to look. And like you said, Lab McConkey, they could potentially get the play action going. Lab McConkey do his thing. You got tried and true Keenan Allen out there as well. And then they got a rookie tight end. He's kind of slowed down as of late. Gatson, I believe, is his name, the tight end for the Chargers. Won't be surprised if I hear his name make some splash plays down the field too. But like you said, man, the Chargers are optimistic Justin Herbert's going to play, but there's no guarantee he doesn't play. So if he plays, I'm leaning towards the Chargers. But if he's out, I think the Eagles should have enough to get it done. But the Eagles are kind of remind me how they were, was it 2 years ago when they went on a losing streak? They still limped into the playoffs and lost against Tampa Bay. They're kind of reminding me of that right now. But maybe I think they had I could be wrong. I want to say they had like a team meeting without Jalen Hurts recently, players only type meeting. And maybe they told some truths in there and flip the things around for the Eagles because they definitely need this win. I'm sure the Cowboys are hoping for the Chargers to lose so they can kind of hop into the lead for the NFC East. But I'm leaning towards the Eagles if Herbert's out. If Herbert's in, I'm leaning toward the Chargers. But either way, this game's still a pick for me, even if Herbert was a play. Because like you said, man, I think you said he has 10 interceptions on the year so far. He's kind of like Jordan Love, kind of reminds me of Trevor Lawrence. One game, he does great or serviceable. Next game, he stinks up the joint. So I'm not too sure. But I do like that Omarion Hampton is coming back. So I'm leaning more towards the Chargers. So I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I hope they win too. Give a damn about no damn Eagles. That's for sure. All right, everybody. Brandon's been saying it in the show earlier this week. Steelers week. We got the Steelers taking on the Ravens. Definitely one of the up there rivalries in this league as well. Must win game for both of these teams. Think this will determine who's going to be the leader of the AFC North after this matchup goes. Lamar Jackson, missed a couple of practices this week, but it looks like he'll be playing. So that's good news for them. Zay Flowers, you got to make up for that game last week. Same for you, Lamar Jackson. Both of y'all need to make up for what y'all did last week. I'm mad as hell at Zay Flowers, especially because you knocked me out of my damn fantasy football playoffs with your sorry ass performance last week. No offense, Brandon. I'm sorry, but he really pissed me off. Low key, same thing with Lamar, man. Come on, man. You was looking like you were in the playoffs, which is not a good thing. Fumbling the ball, running backwards, just looking bad out there. You can't do this against the Steelers now. I know the Steelers defense, specifically the run game, hasn't been looking good, but this is one of those divisional games, rival games. They know everything about y'all weaknesses and strengths. So they know what to do to get you off your square, man. You got to stand on your square and deliver a good game. I'm leaning towards the Ravens in this one just because Aaron Rodgers, that non-throwing hand injury with the wrist. I don't know. I'm not really scared of anybody on the Steelers. DK Metcalf has kind of tailed off. He doesn't look like a number one receiver right now anymore. And then the Steelers' run game, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll put Mason Rudolph out there again, and you'll probably be happy to see that, but who knows? But definitely Zay Flowers, you're gonna have to play well. Like we both been asking a little bit more of Keaton Mitchell. I think he scored a touchdown last week. Just give him a little bit more carries, just a little bit more carries. But this is definitely a game where I want to see Derrick Henry pound the ball. I want to see Keaton Mitchell as well. Maybe third down situations only and more plays here and there. But let's just keep getting Keaton Mitchell more and more involved because he has that explosive type ability, in my opinion, and no turnovers. And I feel like the Ravens should win this game in fairly easy fashion. But I know Lamar has been dealing with some injuries. He just has not looked, I call him a nuclear weapon. He hasn't looked explosive at all for most parts of the season. So hopefully he gets a little bit more healthy against the Steelers and, kind of goes back into his true self. But we'll see. But right now I'm leaning to the Ravens. But Brian, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Another divisional game for us, this time against the Patheticsburg Squealers, as I call them here and there. So many guys on that roster, though, we got to be mindful of. I'll start with DK Metcalf, a guy who I thought was going to be number 2 in their in their wide receiver room when they traded for him. They still had George Pickens then. George Pickens wound up getting traded. But about DK now, his physicality reminds me of Terrell Owens, man, because he's so big. He's got a big frame. He's got some weight to him, but he can still run routes really good. He can still catch the ball really good, and he can score touchdowns, obviously. So, yeah, I think we may be best putting Marlon Humphrey or Awuzie on him because he would probably just throw little Nate Wiggins to the ground. I like my corner, but he kind of small. Next guy, Darnell Washington, man. He's like the new school Antonio Gates out there. Big target, good hands. He can run routes. He's a bulldozer with the ball in his hands. Peyton Wilson, a thorn in my side, y'all. Always plays good against us. Mark Andrews, likely Kohler, they need to draw his attention so he doesn't get those easy tackles and turnovers. I know he had a big turnover against us, I believe, 2 years ago. And then the man himself, TJ Watt, he's not having as good of a season as he has in years past, but he's still a force out there. Of course, he passed his brother on the all-time on the all-time sack list a couple weeks ago. And he's always been known to make plays against us. And then our offensive line would be the ones to propel him over 10 sacks in one game. He currently has 7, so that would mean he would get 3 on us, 3 or 4. So yeah, we got to be able to know where number I can't even remember what jersey number he wear. Number 90 is at all times. This series has been defined by big time game changing plays. Last year was Ardarius Washington forced a fumble on Russell Wilson as he ran downfield. He was nearing the end zone, turned it over the ball to us, and we went down the field and scored. Years ago was Antonio Brown stretching his hands out. He caught it on the just outside the end zone, stretched his hands into the end zone. I still say it wasn't a touchdown, but it was. At the same time, both fan bases remember when Joe Flacco threw that interception straight to Troy Polamalu, and he returned it to the house there in Pittsburgh, and they was waving those yellow terrible towels there. And I think after that game, they played Hit the Road Jack, sent us home from the playoffs. I want to say it was the AFC Divisional or AFC Championship game back in 2008 or 2009. And then us Ravens fans still dream about Ben Roethlisberger getting sacked 9 times in one game. It was at the bank, 1:00 game. I'll never forget it. But the biggest one was when Bart Scott planted him into the ground. So those big type of games, those big type of plays, we need to be on the positive side of them. Cue Derrick Henry, as you mentioned, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers on defense, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Nate Wiggins. I mentioned Nate because he can he's got a knack for getting the ball this season. So he's one of the guys there. These games are typically close, but we'll need more than the 6, 19, 16, 10, and 14 points that we've had in the last five games to beat the Steelers. I know they're not necessarily um, killing teams out there, but again, these games are typically close, so we got to be able to score up in that 20 range for sure to beat them. I think we can run the ball against them though. Not because they got destroyed in that department last week against Buffalo, but they haven't been good at stopping the run all season long, and it hasn't been good last season as well. I mentioned it, I think, in our recap show a couple days ago, how we ran all over them in the AFC wild card last year. We ran over them in the game in Baltimore, and we played pretty decent running the ball in them in Pittsburgh as well last year. Got to protect the ball. You mentioned the turnovers from Zay and Lamar. Isaiah Likely also had one as well. Got to be able to score touchdowns when the opportunity presents itself. Defensively, Jalen Warren, he hasn't produced much all season the way I thought he was going to when he, basically um, got the job to himself after Najee Harris left town. But we cannot let it start on Sunday. We got to know where DK Metcalf is at all times again because he's their number one receiver. Wrap up in the run defense and stay in front of Darnell Washington. Again, you cannot have that guy running at you because he's gonna run you right over. He's a bulldozer. Again, first place is on the line in AFC North. We got to get back to 500 at the bank. We're now currently one, we have one more loss than we have wins there at home. Got to be able to win those home games. Got to be able to beat the divisional opponents as well if you want to win this division. And again, it's another AFC opponent on top of it. So, yeah, we could play our style of football, and I think we could send them back to the Steel City at 6-7. It should be a good one there, though. I got my Ravens winning that one there. Okay. This episode is brought to you by Premium, a CBD and wellness company. Check out their full line of CBD infused products, which make great stocking stuffers for the upcoming holiday season. Perfect for athletes, weekend warriors, soccer moms, and even armchair quarterbacks. They have CBD infused honey, which is a personal favorite of mine, as well as tincture and mint and regular flavor. Most importantly, they are veteran and women owned, so come get some of this sweet temptation and taste the premium difference. Use code B&E for 15% off your order. Their website is www.premium.com. That's PREHEMIUM.com. And now back to our show.
All right, we got a good Sunday night game coming up. Texans taking on the Chiefs. Looking at the spread right now, they got Kansas City favored by 3.5 points. I'm leaning towards the Texans. I just think right now for the Chiefs, they'll probably win this damn game, but for some reason, I'm leaning towards the Texans in this one. I like the defense a lot. I think Nico Collins, the way George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb looked against the Chiefs. I think Nico Collins and the rest of his crew might give that Chiefs secondary some trouble out there. If they can just run the ball a little bit too, I like their chances even more. But I think that Texans defense right now is definitely going to have an impact on the game. I don't think they'll score a defensive touchdown, but I do see them, forcing a turnover or two, which, shifts the balance of the scales towards the Texans side. Will Anderson, man, has been playing great. Daniil Hunter, a lot of these guys have been playing really good. You mentioned their secondary a lot too. Lassiter and those boys out there, Derek Stingley. I don't think Travis Kelce is going to have one of those games where he just gashes and dashes on folks. I definitely see him catching the ball, but you see good defense rally to the football all the time. Somebody catch a pass, it looks like they're open, and then out of nowhere, about 3, 4, 5 players come up and try to make a tackle on them. So I definitely see that type of performance from the Texans. Just make sure CJ Stroud, like I kind of talked about with the Ravens, no turnovers. Not saying you need to be like a game manager out there, but play smart, scramble when you need to, and just look for your players. Look for Dalton Schultz. As of late, Dalton Schultz was getting the ball, but it feels like some games is like, where's Dalton Schultz at? He's a pretty good tight end, so I'm hoping Dalton Schultz does his thing out there, and maybe we see another couple plays from these rookie wide receivers, Higgins and Noel, and give me the. I'm leaning towards the Texans in this one. I think the Chiefs, that loss to the Cowboys, it could be, just a bump in the road, but that definitely both teams are in a hunt. A younger, it'll definitely, have them more, have more energy, more juice right now. So give me the Texans in this one. Brandon, what are your thoughts though?
Patrick Mahomes is 0-2 versus top 5 red zone defenses this year. Those 2 losses were against the Broncos and Chargers. Who else has a top 5 red zone defense? Houston. That's the team that I'm picking in this one. Not a biased pick. It's the Houston defense again, is why I'm picking them. Look at what they did against Buffalo and Josh Allen. Look at what they did against the Indianapolis offense. Look at what they did against San Fran and Christian McCaffrey. Look at what they did against my Ravens offense. And they even held their own against Bake in the Bucks earlier in the season. Houston has one of those defenses I mentioned before. They do not need to blitz to get consistent pass rush against the quarterback. I think Will Anderson, Derek Stingley Jr., Aziz Al-Shaair, they'll all want to avenge that playoff loss in January. If y'all forgot, they played each other, last just not too long ago. And of course, Kansas City went on to win and made their way to the Super Bowl. Also feel like their corners match up very well against Kansas City wideouts. You got Rice, Worthy, and Hollywood versus speed and length of Stingley, Lassiter, and Petrie. Petrie is no scrub either, the third corner. I think he had an interception against us, if I'm not mistaken. But the key to this game, I agree with you, might very well be CJ Stroud. If he can make those positive plays like he did last week, continue to use his legs, play turnover-free football, they should come out on top. I do feel like George Karlaftis, and I mention him quite often when I talk about the Chiefs, him and Nick Bolton are important factors as well. Karlaftis is obviously that quarterback hunter, probably their top edge rusher, while Bolton, he can go sideline to sideline and track down Woody Marks when he's out there for Houston. So, yeah, in that playoff loss that I mentioned just a moment ago, the glaring difference was Houston's inability to protect CJ Stroud. He went down 8 times in that game. I think they've gotten better on the offensive line as of late as well. So Houston is right there, in my opinion. Still, they're third place in their division, but I think they got enough to take down the Chiefs. They just got to get it done, and I do believe in them in this one. Should be a good one there in prime time. Okay, everyone. The Walter Payton Man of the Year nominees came out earlier this week. One player from each team was nominated for the award. I think this is one of the best awards that they have out there because it shows how the players, it basically highlights them for being good in the community, helping those that need help the most. So Ed's going to run down the NFC players nominees, and I'll run down the AFC afterwards.
Yeah, so for the Arizona Cardinals, we got Kelvin Beachum as their nominee. Atlanta Falcons have AJ Terrell Jr. The Carolina Panthers have Austin and Corbett. Chicago Bears have DJ Moore. Dallas Cowboys, they featured him last night. Solomon Thomas is their nominee. Detroit Lions is also DJ Reader. He was featured as well. The Green Bay Packers chose Jordan Love. The Los Angeles Rams chose Kyron Williams. Minnesota Vikings have CJ Ham. The New Orleans Saints have Demario Davis. The New York Giants have Bobby Okereke. Philadelphia Eagles nominee is Jordan Mailata. The San Francisco 49ers nominee is Curtis Robinson. Seattle Seahawks have Julian Love. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have Baker Mayfield. And the Washington Commanders have my guy, Bobby Wagner.
I was waiting for that one. All right, everyone. Excuse me if I mess up any of the names here in the AFC, but Derrick Henry is the nominee for the Ravens. Deion Dawkins with the Bills. Ted Karras with the Bengals. Grant Delpit with the Browns. Garrett Bowles with the Denver Broncos. Houston Texans selected Aziz Al-Shaair. Indianapolis Colts is Kenny Moore II. Logan Cook of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Kelsey with the Chiefs, Max Crosby with the Raiders, Cameron Dicker with the Los Angeles Chargers. Miami Dolphins selected Bradley Chubb, Hunter Henry with the New England Patriots, Quincy Williams with the New York Jets, um, Alex Highsmith with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Jeffrey Simmons, one of my favorite defensive tackles, with the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, again, this is one of the best awards out there, so whoever gets it is well deserving. Kudos to all these guys and all the nominees over the years, again, for making a difference in the community and the communities where they play at, close to home in their cities. Okay, let's turn the page to the other Week 14 games on the calendar. We've got Seahawks at Falcons, Bengals at Bills, Titans at Browns, Commanders at Vikings, Dolphins at Jets, New Orleans at Tampa, Indy at Jacksonville. Big game there down there in Duval County. The late window will feature the Broncos and Raiders and the Rams and Cardinals. Ed, which of these games are you looking forward to?
Two games I'm gonna have my eyes on the most. Of course, it's gonna be my Commanders taking on the Vikings. This is the first time all year, mind you, we're in week 14 that we're gonna have a starting quarterback, our top three wide receivers, and a fully healthy, our starters on the offensive line all playing together. Week 14, this is the first time this happened. So the injuries have decimated us. So I'm kind of hoping to see our offense looking like how Jaden did his rookie year, especially when we went on that run, was winning games. Definitely going to keep a close eye on that. Hopefully, everybody on the Commanders comes out healthy. On both teams, of course, but specifically my team. Just no injuries for the love of God, please. Another game, both of these teams, not going to do anything this year, but Titans at the Browns, Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, both of these guys are good friends. So, I don't know if the media has been talking much about this game. I know both of these teams kind of stink right now. But Titans at the Brown, I want to see which quarterback comes out on top. It's not like they're going to be, playing against each other one-on-one, stuff like that, drills and everything. But, definitely interested to see how that goes and who's going to be able to have the bragging rights for that game. I feel like the media is kind of 50-50 with Shador. A lot of people think he's getting a short stick, not getting a fair shake, or how he's been prepared so far this year. I know he has the opportunity to start these last couple games, and he's been prepped correctly now. But I want to see how he looks and if he'll be able to overcome Cam Ward, who's having his own issues with the Titans and just the hellstorm that's dealing with them. So those are the two games we're looking at. But like you said, that Indy Jacksonville game, definitely a huge game out there as well. And then the Bengals Bills game. Let's see how Joe Burrow and his new and improved defense all of a sudden looks against the Bills. But those are the games I'm mostly going to keep an eye on. How about you, Brandon?
Seahawks Falcons, Bijan Robinson versus the Seattle defense. That'll be something to watch. I am leaning towards an upset for the Seahawks. They're traveling across country to play the Falcons there in the Georgia Dome. I don't think they call it that anymore. I think it's the Mercedes-Benz Superdome or something like that. Bengals, Bills Mafia, stand up. I need another Buffalo win, please, because they're already talking about the Bengals can win the AFC North after they beat the Ravens on Thanksgiving. I don't think they will. I think Pittsburgh and Baltimore are ahead of them. So Buffalo, get it done. Y'all got to stack up these wins before y'all play New England, I believe, next week or the following week as well. Take care of business at home, Buffalo. Titans at Browns. Come on, Myles Garrett. I love Cam Ward, but I need Myles Garrett to break this record this year, in a year that we do not play them late in the season, so he can't break it on us next year. Uh, Knowing him, he'd probably break his own record next year. But yeah, go ahead and get it done, Myles Garrett. Continue to stack up those sacks. Commanders and Vikings. Jaden returning against a ferocious Minnesota defense, man. Look out for them. They have guys everywhere. But specifically, what caught my attention after we played them was Cashman. And of course, I've always been a big fan of Harrison Smith. Cashman is the linebacker. He reminds me of Matt Milano. He reminds me of Landman out there with the Rams, and a couple other guys that can go east to west. and track down any type of speedy receiver, tight end, or running back out there. And Broncos and Raiders, let's go Broncos, man. Keep winning to keep Kansas City behind in the standings there. Go get the W there in Las Vegas.
You just reminded me that we talking about the Vikings. Jonathan Allen, he plays with the Vikings now, so he's
Yes.
gonna have his. I hope it's not a revenge game, but he's gonna play his old team, the Commanders. So I'm gonna be looking out for that too. Hopefully, we can make it look like we don't need him. We didn't need him out there, but I definitely feel like he's gonna play with a extra edge out there too.
Cool.
All right, everybody. It's time for our parlays of the week. Like I said, each and every week is getting harder and harder. I haven't hit a parlay in damn weeks. Thankfully, the Panthers aren't playing this week, so they can't blow up my freaking parlay this time. But let's get it started, shall we? This one's kind of risky. It's a divisional game, but give me the Dolphins over the Jets. Give me Tampa Bay over New Orleans. Give me the Broncos over the Raiders. Rams over the Cardinals as well. I think that is all I want to do right now. I'm gonna do Packers too. Oh Lord, Packers over the Bears. So give me the Packers. Give me the Rams. Give me the I forgot the Browns. I like the Browns too. Browns over the Titans. The Dolphins, Tampa Bay, the Broncos, and the Rams as my parlay of the week. How about you, Brandon?
Yeah, tough week. You mentioned all the time each week it gets tougher, but this week because you got three critical games as far as divisional standings go, um, that made it difficult. But I am picking one of those divisional games. I'm going Jacksonville over Indianapolis. Um, I just don't trust Indianapolis against good teams, and Jacksonville has been good at creating turnovers. Tampa Bay over New Orleans. Um, they're at home. The Bucks are, so that should be good for them. And Denver over Vegas. Vegas, like I said, a couple weeks ago, Pete Carroll's going to keep chewing that gum until he get let go. Over there with the Raiders, not looking good for them.
All right, everybody. It's going to do it for another episode of Breaking the Entering podcast. Fight fans out there, we got a couple of good fights, boxing and MMA, UFC. MMA, UFC side, we got a bantamweight title match. Marab Divashvili's taking on Peter Yan. Rematch this time is for the title. And then on the boxing side, we got a hometown guy, Lamont Roach, taking on Pitbull Isaac Cruz. Everybody knows Lamont Roach. His last fight against Gervonta Tank Davis ended in a draw. He's taking on Pitbull Cruz. I think that's going to be a really good fight. And if fight fans out there, check those out. The Pitbull and Lamont Roach fight is going to be on Amazon Prime. And of course, the UFC fights on ESPN. But back to us. As always, thanks everybody who takes time out of the day to watch the show. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Just look for B&E Podcast, Breaking Entering Podcast. Look for us as well on Twitter, also known as X, at Podcast B&E, and follow us on Instagram as well at the B&E Podcast. We'll see y'all next week to recap all of these games, and y'all be safe out there. Peace.